or fully closed, with some other roads with lane closures, so please be careful out there. Our bus services are operating on all routes, but we do have extended journey times. A lot of that is due to the detours in place because of the road closures. We do have dedicated school bus services back up and running, and they're being reinstated where schools are opening today. Our rail services are still expected to run to reduced timetables, with rail replacement buses in some areas. Please plan your journey and plan for longer journey times. Ferry services will be operating reduced timetables other than Gulf Harbour, and that will continue to operate a bus replacement service. For an update on more locally on the road network, the roads that have key impacts and that we're recommending that people still continue to avoid. In the north, Mill Flat Road, the Bailey Bridge installation does continue, and residents still have access via the Winnipeg Forest. Beach Road in Browns Bay and Glen Bar Road. In central Auckland, Tamaki Drive, there have been slips and flooding. There is still debris to move in that space, so please travel that area with care. In the south, Whetu Peninsula and Beechcroft Road, and in the west, Tahinga Road, Woodbay Road and Scenic Drive. Again, I'd just like to reiterate, while we are making really good progress, we do continue to take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. And now I'm going to hand to Ron Devlin just to give an update on Fire and Emergency New Zealand's activities. And just again wanted to thank both Fuel Transport and all of our response teams that are out on the ground. And I think a special note too to the families back and behind those workers that are out there. Some of our team are doing really long shifts, 12-hour shifts at a time, and it takes others to support that back at home sometimes. So I just really want to send a big thanks out to the supporting whānau that are wrapping around our crews out on the ground as well.
Tēnā koutou katoa, morning. So today is a very different day when we come to obviously weather conditions by comparison to previous days. Quite different to what we anticipated yesterday. We're responding as planned now to all activities as per usual, so it's just BAU for us. The number of calls has reduced considerably with respect to weather events, with only 2 yesterday evening. The flurry of calls, of course, yesterday were the result of the early morning downpour that we had. We are obviously still very aware of the potential risk given how sodden the ground is, and that played out in a couple of places yesterday, but mostly very graphically in the Whetu Peninsula with the property collapse there, and the operation that followed that, which we thought was considerably good coordination between police, fire, and the Auckland airport, and the Westpac. So the operation that got very, very quickly and got in as possible. Our USR team continues to support the Auckland City Council and the Auckland Emergency Management team in building assessments. Our future focus now is on recovery and particularly assisting where we can in AEN, but also making sure that our resources and assets are up and ready to go. Which of course we are, as I said before, we are absolutely at business as usual, and everything is operating as it should be. The communication centres are now more than copied as they would normally do in these conditions. So just, I guess, really as we prepare, I want to let people know that we are ready and capable for any calls that Auckland and the communities have. In finishing, I would just like to once again acknowledge the communities across Auckland, particularly those that were severely impacted, in particular those people who have lost loved ones. And also another extended thanks out to all of our firefighters and support people who have lent in many during times when they've had circumstances to deal with. So once again, thanks to everybody, and please stay safe.
Thanks, Ron. And just before I go into some more Auckland-specific information updates, I'll hand to Roger Ball, Roger Ball is our Director of Civil Defence and Emergency Management with our National Emergency Management Agency, and Roger will have some reflections on just the current state across the country in terms of our response and readiness.
Thank you, Rachel. Morena koutou, Roger Ball from the National Emergency Management Agency. I'm pleased to report there are no major developments overnight from a national level that are adverse. As you know, Northland was able to end its declaration of emergency yesterday. There was some rain overnight in other parts of the North Island, but so far as we can tell, any impacts are being handled within local resources. So as Rachel indicated, there are warnings and watches in place in a number of areas in coming days. So we continue to advise the public, please stay abreast of the weather forecasts via Met Service or your preferred weather provider so that you are aware of the situation. Please also stay very closely attuned to the channels, the media channels and social media channels of your local civil defence organisation and so that you're aware of what their advice is. The National Emergency Management Agency will continue to operate its National Coordination Centre, which is commonly called the bunker below the beehive. We've been running that since the beginning of this event. It will remain activated. We are receiving requests for support from the Auckland CN Group in particular. We will process those quickly, and we are working with government agencies to provide all support that is required. I just want to also do a shout out to those in the community who are rallying around to support at this time. Of course, agencies are doing everything that they can. The government will be there to support, but this is an emergency event and we appreciate greatly the work of communities, iwi, volunteers and responders and contractors and council staff and many others who are supporting this effort. As we look ahead, obviously the declaration in Auckland remains in place, but as we look ahead, we do need to start thinking about the next phase, and that involves a very prolonged recovery. With that in mind, NEMA's National Recovery Manager will be in Auckland from today and engaging in face-to-face conversations with staff here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger. And so I'm going to move now to some other information updates or sources of information for people in terms of where you can get help if needed. So just in regards to our welfare response, welfare continues to be a priority for us. Helping people who've been displaced from their homes get into accommodation that's more enduring. So we've got a real priority working with those that are currently in our civil defence centres to find them a more enduring solution. But we're also aware that there are many others of people that have been affected, households, families that have been affected by this event. Some will be staying with family and friends at the moment, and they also too will need some form of temporary accommodation, which may extend into months. So we're working very closely with MSD, with MB. We have staff from Kainga Ora upstairs working to support their clients who have needs with accommodation, and that very much remains a priority for us. There are currently 4 civil defence centres open at Mangere, Randwick Park, Albany and Kelston. Our Kelston Centre will be transitioning to Henderson from today. The new address will be Bruce McLaren Community Centre at Hub West 29 Corbin Ave, Henderson. So that transition is happening today and that facility will be available from tomorrow. The Kelston Civil Defence Centre is based out of the school at the moment, so you'll appreciate that the school is getting ready to go back to service. As I've mentioned, the focus really for those civil defence centres is to be providing that wraparound support to people that have a range of welfare needs, whether that be accommodation or other services they need to access because of the impacts on their homes and properties. Ideally, we'll be looking to support them into different accommodation, and so that accommodation or overnight part of those centres may phase out. So we just encourage people to keep up to date with our information on our websites. We also have 4 community information hubs. So these are information hubs that are not accommodation services, but are there to really provide the full range of support wraparound services that people might need. So those are at Te Manawa Westgate, 11 Puhu Road, Lane, and that's open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. New Lynn Community Centre, 45 Tortora Avenue, New Lynn, also 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. In fact, all of these centres are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Fickling Convention Centre, 546 Mount Albert Road, 3 Kings, and the Birkenhead Leisure Centre, 46 Mahara Avenue, Birkenhead. So those information hubs, in addition to the civil defence centres, are places that you can go if you need support or information on how to access support and are not sure where to start. Again, if you do need help, make sure you reach out. If you're not able to get to one of those centres and you do need help, then you can call us on our helpline, which is 0800 22 2200. We are experiencing large volumes of calls, but rest assured we will get back to you. The reports from our call centre or coming in through our welfare desk is that we did have a significant increase in the volume of calls that we were working with as a result of the additional rainfall on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So again, that's just that's something that we are working through at the moment, but we've got a large number of staff that have been surged in to help with that to make sure that we can respond as quickly as possible. With regards to water and wastewater, water care crews have begun the clean-up and have been working extended hours to get Auckland running again from a water perspective. Due to the volume of overflows, it may be a couple of days before these are all dealt with, and water care is sending texts to the customers who reported overflows that they haven't got onto yet. Water care is attending to and cleaning up after all known wastewater overflows from their manholes. People cleaning up their properties after flooding can refer to Auckland Emergency Management's information on cleaning up after a flood. So we have got more detailed information people can access around just what to think about if you're doing that clean-up activity at home. Just how you go about that, how you stay safe. And that's available at aem.org.nz. We heard from our Medical Officer of Health yesterday just around some of the health risks of handling or interacting with potentially contaminated materials. So just remember to treat all flood water and materials that have come into contact with flood water as potentially contaminated. It's a really good idea to be wearing protective clothing, but absolutely, if you have had to handle something, make sure that you're really washing your hands thoroughly after clean-up and before handling food. And they don't recommend eating any homegrown produce that's been into contact with those floodwaters. We expect the Wairau pump station to be operating at full capacity again today, which is fantastic. Landslips, there still remains a high risk of more landslips. We've been talking about this over the last couple of days. Whilst the rain might have stopped, again that ground still remains incredibly sodden, and there are still some showers predicted. Nothing significant, but any additional moisture on top of those already saturated grounds still has the potential to cause issues. And we did see significant collapses on the North Shore and in our feature yesterday. Auckland Council geotechnical engineers and building inspectors are prioritising assessments where properties are at risk, and they will be getting out to those as quickly as they can. As I mentioned earlier, they are making fantastic progress through what is a huge job. With regard to waste management, I just want to again reiterate that this is another priority for us, particularly now that we've got slightly more settled weather, and we know that people will be getting into the next round of cleanups. So to help with the cleanup, Council now has 15 drop-off places, so we've been able to increase that through working with private providers, and they're right across the region, and people can go there and drop off their storm-related debris. So if you don't have the financial means or the support from your insurance company to be able to do that, then please call us and we will help facilitate your access to the transfer station that's most convenient for you. We do encourage calling ahead, just because at times there are high volumes of people going through those transfer stations, and if you do call, we can make sure that we can pass you through at a time where we know it's not going to mean that you are too delayed. The first step for insured people who want to dispose of storm-related waste should be, though, however, to contact their insurer, and they will advise on the next steps, as policies can differ. And I did mention yesterday that there may be the case that insurance companies will treat damage from the Friday night event and damage from Tuesday night event as separate events. And so again, just checking in to make sure that you've got the right kind of arrangements with your insurer to get the best response that you can. Also, recommendation from the Insurance Council for people to take lots of photos, video, and so that you've got a good documented record if you do need to start doing something to keep your property safe and sanitary. So swimming, we are seeing more sun and we're heading into a long weekend. So I imagine if that forecast does improve, people will be very keen to get out and about, given that we have been sort of in this sort of space of being focused inside. At the moment, all of the urban beaches in Auckland have a black do not swim pin on them, and most of the rest, I think, or all of the rest, have still a recommendation or an advice of not ready to swim. So please check Swim Safe to see, or Safe Swim, to see whether it's safe to return to the water. It's likely that some of those advice around not swimming will remain in place for some time, just because we have had such a significant flooding event that those contaminants could still be coming into those harbour areas for a little while. We talked about some of those overflows still being addressed. So just because it stopped raining, it may just, doesn't mean that those beaches are now good to go. Just make sure you do check before you head off for a swim at the beach. And lastly, I just want to cover off another matter that I did talk about yesterday, but we're aware of from some of the companies that provide lift and escalator services across Tamaki Makaurau, that they do have quite a high volume of lifts and escalators that are currently out of service at the moment because of damage due to the floods, and that they're getting an additional technicians to help with that, but of course there's sometimes parts needed as well, which can take some time. So if people are in a situation where they're in a high-rise building and getting up and down the stairs to access the services that you need is difficult, or you're not able to do that, then please make sure that you reach out. There is help available, including being able to support you with temporary accommodation if that is what's needed. We are in contact with the major companies such as Schindler and Otis, and are assured that they are working as quickly as possible on this. We know that there are lots of people compromised for a range of reasons. That's just one example, but there might be others in terms of getting out and about and doing what you need to do. So just please take a moment to check on your neighbours, check in with friends and family, and if you think there is someone out there that needs some help, do let us know, 0800 22 2200. That is the end of the information I have for this morning, so we'll bring the briefing to an end, but if there's any questions, happy to take them.
Do you have an estimated number about the cars that have been damaged or ruined due to the flood?
Do you have that question? I think I should Esther, but you might
I don't have the specific updated number today, but it is over 150, and we are working today to figure out how we might contact those people with plans and support that we might be able to provide.
Okay, cool. And how many people are still arriving at the evacuation centres? Is it still quite significant?
The numbers coming out of the evacuation centres is a wee bit fluid, because people come in and then they move out, and some of those people manage themselves in terms of finding other accommodation, and some of those people are needing support with that. So I don't have those numbers. I'll see if I can find it. I think as of last night we had in total, I think it was 99 people or thereabouts across the 3 civil defence centres. But like I said, the intention today is we do have pre-booked accommodation now available for people that are in the civil defence centres, and really wanting to work with them to get them into more enduring and comfortable accommodation. Sometimes it can be not challenging, but we're trying to work closely with people to reflect their specific circumstance and needs. So finding accommodation can take a little bit of time where, for example, big families, we need to keep them together. We do have individuals with pets, and again, finding the right kind of accommodation that can keep them in situations that are best for them is really important. But we're just working through all those different situations. But that is our priority, is getting people into more enduring and comfortable accommodation.
And for Ron, is there any damage to any fire trucks, stations? How's the people doing?
We were very focused, obviously, on our people and the private institutions. We've been making that. We do have sustained damage to a couple of fire stations, copper, which we have relocated thanks to the community up there, not very far from the conversation. And Takapuna, the one military headquarters, was damaged downstairs. The upstairs is still available, and we've put protocols in for the firefighters. So they're still operating over there, but they can't sleep there currently during the evening hours, simply because it's not habitable in that space. And some minor damage to places. We obviously have a property team to try and get rid of.
Rachel, do you have an update on the number of red or yellow placard properties?
Now, I'm going to give you a number that's going to be out of date because that information is coming in all the time at the moment. So it's a tricky one to give the absolute number, but as of last night, so this was or yesterday, we were heading up towards 200 red placards. So I won't give you the exact number, but it was in the vicinity of 200 red placards. We were close to 800 yellow placards, and we expect again that number to continue growing. But we will keep putting that information out there. I will bring the updated figures to the 3 PM briefing. Anything else? Thanks very much, and again, just really appreciate the efforts from media, both in terms of turning up at these briefings, but also in sharing the information out there to our communities to keep them safe. It's much appreciated. Thank you.